G'day guys and girls, and welcome back to another edition of Damo's Team Talk coming out of round 10. And must say, it was an interesting round. Not so much a mixed bag, but there'd be some people who would be absolutely rejoicing, which I know Liam definitely is, and I won't ruin as to the score that he got, but tune in, of course, to our weekly episode, which will be dropping in a day's time, or thereabouts, once we record it tomorrow. And I didn't, unfortunately, go as well as him, but I'm very, very happy for him. So I'd love if he actually did a team talk, because it'd be very, very interesting, but we'll delve into that in the episode proper. But must say from the top, thanks as always for tuning in to all of our content. We did, of course, live on Thursday for the team sheet announcements, and had a few people tune in for that. So it's always good to see the support that you guys and girls give us in terms of tuning into our content weekly, in terms of my own team talks, but then the live streams, and also the weekly episodes as they exist in both visual format on YouTube and also audio on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. But before I jump into things, of course, if you can provide your support, if you can do so, I mean, you don't have to give us money. I'm not going to be like Krusty in The Simpsons where he's holding a sign that says, "We'll drop pans for food." But for me, it'll be, "We'll drop pans for subs," because I'm not going to stoop to that level.
Krusty, are you making any money?
Nah, that guy's giving it away for free.
Old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be, ain't what she used to be, ain't what she used to be.
But you can show your support just by clicking the subscribe button just down below. That's all you need to do, really. Just show your support. If you do like what we do, what we release from week to week, feel free to do so. And we really appreciate all the support that you guys and girls give us. So let's jump into my team and how I fared on the weekend. Well, there we have it. So I ended up scoring a 2,445, which was a top 13% score for the week, which obviously isn't that high. And you'll see there in terms of the permutations with my rank. So I ended up dropping for the first time this season. So at least it's a bit of an outlier more than a trend at the moment. And hopefully it reverses come next week, because my rank ended up dropping 838 spots to now sit 2,524. And I guess the main thing, which we'll delve into, of course, on the weekly vodcast and podcast, is the fact that the main difference between, say, my team and the teams that scored better than me, and I had a look through my leagues that I'm in, head-to-head matches and stuff, and the main correlation or trend across all of them is they either had Merrett, first and foremost, or they had Merrett captain, or they had Weddle and Humphrey Bibert on field for them, who both turned up. So those are the three sort of main differentials between their team and my team. And I'll just jump into my team now, and I'll show you who I had on field. So, of course, I didn't have Weddle on field, unfortunately. He was on the bench, and I ended up locking in Wilmot's score, who I thought was a worthy score. I mean, it's an 83, of course. Didn't go for Humphrey. I bypassed him. You would have seen in last week's team talk the fact that I thought he was at too high of a price point to justify doing, and it would have meant that I would have had to have traded someone like a Wilmot to him in order to bank a bit of cash from that trade. Otherwise, I would have been having to, dip into my bank virtually to trade a lower rookie like a Roberts or a Johnson or one of those guys up to him. So I ended up opting. Probably a good segue to delve into the trade that I did. It was a trade. It wasn't trades for the first time this year. I only did the single trade, and it was Sharp coming in off the back of Cowan. So Cowan, I could have potentially, as I touched on last week in last week's Damo's team talk, I could have eventually traded Cowan to Humphrey, but again, that would have meant that I would have had to have dipped into my bank, which I could have done. But again, I see it as a bit of a risk, or it was a bit of a risk. Easy to say in retrospect that it was a good path to go down, but again, at that higher price point, if he put in a shit score, for example, on the weekend, it would have really halted his potential growth in terms of price. So I congratulate those people that jumped on him, because it's obviously a bit of a risk, and it will pay off for those people that did so. So tip of the cap to you. But I ended up going down the path of Cowan down to Sharp, and that gave me, I was around about 80k or thereabouts, and I've always been sort of the mindset for my team this season is every single week trying to bring in keepers. And if I'm not able to bring in a keeper, at least make bank for the following week when I can bring in a keeper. And I'll go through my team in a moment, but you'll see there I'm only rolling with the 3 rookies on field, and they're kind of spread out across the field, which is good as well. Because when you've got multiple rookies in the one line, it's harder to sort of loop on a score from the bench, and you're going to have to gamble on one of those rookies taking the field. So it means that obviously with Chincotta being there, not playing, I was able to screen Wilmot's score off the bench and lock him in. It was just unfortunate that, of course, Weddle, which no one could have predicted, went bananas against the Eagles, and even ended up scoring a couple of goals as well, which was amazing, even though he sort of plays in defence, but obviously pushed up the ground. And then also in terms of Sam Simpson playing first up, I was able to screen his score, scored shit, and was able to field sharp. I mean, it was probably the best of a bad situation. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to bring Seamus Mitchell, obviously into the mids or into defence. As it turned out, like I would have probably either played a Seamus Mitchell or a Wilmot anyway. So that's pretty much that. And I was banking on, like I could have potentially switched Wilmot into the midfield for Constable and then played Wilmot on field instead of Sharp, but it would have meant that I would have been forced to play Weddle on field over Chincotta, which would have been ideal, obviously, but I didn't have my SuperCoach Edge crystal ball to look into at the time to check into which rookies were going to kill it. So it's probably the best of a not a bad situation, but a situation where I needed to make a call and take a little bit of a risk after being able to only really screen Wilmot and Simpson scores off the bench. So at least I got sort of one half-decent score out of it. So let's use this as a bit of a segue to roll through just briefly my team and how it performed. So overall, pretty happy with it. In terms of the keepers that I've got, there were a few that performed below par and below the average. Big one is, again, this guy's killing me, Jordan Dawson. Second week in a row after I brought him in, he's had his third lowest score at a 92. Started pretty slow, worked his way back into the game, thankfully, to eke out a 92, but not good enough, really. He's got a tough matchup against the Lions this week, and then a couple of easy-ish ones against Gold Coast, and then obviously West Coast is a super easy one. So he was kind of the big disappointment, I think, in terms of genuine keepers. Zeeble was down on form. Didn't get as many kick-ins from what I saw at the game. Tom Stewart, 91, so that's kind of his flaw. So, happy enough with that. Nicky Dacos, everyone's got him. Eked out a ton and was sort of down on production, but is what it is. Jackie Sinclair, he finally hit his ceiling game, which we all know he's capable of historically. So, by far and away, his best score of the season. And it was a welcome sight as well. So I kind of made up for the lack of points there from, say, a Zeeble and a Dawson. So kind of, helped out there. Chincotta, as I said, I was able to loop on Wilmot. Unfortunately, Weddle ended up scoring a little bit more. In terms of the mids, Bont, good. Clary, 120. Goulden, 96. Rory Laird, 145. So really bounced back to form. And it was what I was calling for, as you would have heard and seen in the last week's podcast, the podcast prior to this weekend, when we were talking about captaincy options, and Rory Laird being a potential trade-in option. And I was thinking he was due for a bit of a rest, and maybe after his bye he'd come good, but he exceeded expectations in terms of the timeline there for me, especially at Mars Stadium as well. Must have just loved the confines of the oval there, but eked out a 145, so pretty happy with that, and back to his piggish best with 34 disposals, 5 marks, and 10 tackles as well, if you don't mind. So his tackle numbers are really good and really kind of providing a nice little base there, much like a Jackie Steele. Sammy Walsh, down on production, but Carlton, my side, down on production, gee whiz. just absolutely shitful. So I'm surprised that he actually scored that much. Tommy Green, 119, going from strength to strength. I think he's building a little bit of solid form now over the recent month, so that's pleasing to see. Will Day, he's probably the most disappointing in terms of keepers. I wouldn't call him a genuine keeper anymore. And he was kind of on the cusp, but did drop the 15.8K because he only scored the 74. So, yeah, he was the one disappointment, I think, out of everyone. But, yeah, again, he's on the cusp. He hasn't scored a ton for over 5 weeks now. But even so, I mean, I've seen some people saying that they're going to trade him out. If you put it into perspective, he's still scoring higher than the rookies that I've got. I mean, this is kind of an outlier week with Weddle and Wilmot and Mitchell going bananas. So I wouldn't use this week as sort of the barometer. But on the whole, he's outscoring equivalent rookies. So he is someone that I'll probably look down the line as a bit of a luxury trade. Otherwise, the fact that he's got DPP as the mid defender might be able to be a handy sort of switch between defence and midfield as sort of operating as that D7, M9 type role. So, yeah, down the line we'll see how we go, but not really worry at the moment as what some people are saying. That second rookie on field in Harry Sharp was at least able to score higher than the other rookies I've got there. Hopefully Matt Johnson gets a bit of a full game because he only played about a quarter or thereabouts, if that, and ended up eking out a 37. So really impressive sort of points per minute, which you should be able to see here. 0.9, actually not as good as what I thought, but almost a point per minute, which is pretty good considering that he played limited game time. Simpson, he's probably on the chopping block this week, and I reckon he'll struggle to keep his spot in the Cats lineup because he just has hit a wall. Wasn't contributing, didn't kick a goal, as he has been previous weeks. And he wasn't there. He didn't help. I mean, off the back of a loss as well against Freo, I think Scott is going to swing the axe, and with a few guys, first 22, first 18 players on the cusp of coming back into the side, I think now he is someone that could make way. And his break-even as well is creeping up there close to his average. Break-even is 59, and his average is 57.8, so it's actually exceeded his average. So I think for those people that own him, now is a good time to potentially get rid of him. Unfortunately, hasn't made the 100K mark that we're hoping for. And yeah, I mean, I was hoping to hold him across the buys, but if he gets dropped this week, I don't know if he's going to be able to make his way back into the Geelong lineup, but just wait and see with that. But for me personally, he provides a nice little stepping stone to bringing in a big keeper who I will delve into momentarily in a moment, I should say. Then across the rucks, so Marshall again, 126. He's at a really, really solid run of form to the point where he's, the second highest ranked scoring ruckman, I guess, overtaking Darcy because his past month he's been averaging quite well, and now he's averaging overall 111.7, where a month prior he was averaging 107. So he has taken his game to another level like we're all hoping for. Sean Darcy, as I mentioned, is it going to... Come on. It's not going to load for me, is it? Can't SuperCoach. What are you doing, mate? It's not going to load. Oh, here we go. So as I mentioned there, so he slid to the third highest scoring ruck to date. He's still got a good average, like 110, but down in production. Like 2 of his past 3 weeks, he's been down. Probably that's to be expected, as we highlighted that week of when he was facing Hawthorn. They're very restrictive on opposing ruckmen, so no real surprise there. But against the Cats, I thought he might have relished that, especially at home at Optus Stadium. So interesting. And then he faces Gorney and Grundy this coming round. So interesting there, but obviously a definite hold. And then moving into the forwards, we've got Dunkley again, 153, and he is up there among the top scorers for the season. In fact, he's the first highest ranked forward and 5th overall in the midfield as well. So as you can see here, he's been able to punch out a couple of captaincy scores there over the past month. So he's been good, but I actually thought he was better than that. But yeah, he's everyone's got him. That's the thing. He's 69, did it for 2 ownership. But he is reliable as they come. Taranto, another one, 118. Rosie, 140. So very nice game from him. Cogs, a 108. Sheasel bouncing back with that 112. It seems as though with Shees, good old Shees Nuts, whenever he has a down game, he's always able to bounce back impressively. And he's always been around about that range, like the 111, 114, 110, 112. So at least we know what we can expect from him at his height. And he's had a couple of off games there, but 2 out of 10 games being off games, like 8 really good games. He's been an absolute gun. Actually, look at his ownership. Shit, he's in 77% of teams. Yeah, so his ownership's been pretty consistent. So it's good to see most people out there haven't traded him because he's a keeper. I think at this stage, nearly at the halfway point of the season, and like I say, 8 great scores. He's done well. And rounding us out in the forward line on field, we have Samson Ryan, who I think the inclusion, as we mentioned on the podcast during the week, the inclusion of Nank was always going to hit him hardest because he was the number 1 ruck, was relegated to backup duties, and was only able to score that 58. And it does mean now his break-even has risen to 71, which is above his average now. So it means that his potential cash generation for future weeks has pretty much been halted, and he scores virtually maxed out now. But it's not the end of the world. He has made us 235.5k. So I think even so, aside from like that, ordinary score on the weekend, I don't think he would have made us much more money. Like his fixture isn't too favourable. Nank being back hasn't really helped. And you'll see there, he only had 5 hit-outs in the weekend. And if I just go to DFS of Australia, and we'll just see the breakdown in terms of ruck contests that he attended, just to sort of paint that picture of the impact. So there we go. Like he went from 69% down to 27% ruck contest, and Nank back up to 61. So yeah, I think the scoring ceiling that we're seeing from Samson Ryan just isn't there anymore, unfortunately, with Nank in the team. So we're not going to see the heights of the 104 or the 82s or even the 70-odd scores that he's been getting. And he's probably lucky that he was able to score that 58. I think he kicked a nice goal, which helped boost his scoreline. But apart from that, yeah, I think we can potentially see him around about, between 40 and 50, maybe 60, pushing 60 type scores, which from here on out is going to see his price drop markedly. So, look to move him on if you can. But, I mean, it's hard to say because if he works in with your buy structure and you do need him, he is still an option. But in terms of a genuine cash cow, he's done his job, so it is probably a good time to move him on. Then in terms of the bench, we've got Seamus Mitchell making us bulk cash, which is always handy. He's now risen 143.6k overall and went up another 34.8k on the weekend with his break-even and -3. So he's making us really, really nice cash, especially heading into the bye weeks. He's got the round 14 bye, so maybe that might be a good time to sort of cash him in. Heading into his bye, and cash him in for someone that's playing round 15 to really sort of maximise. Someone that's playing round 14 when he's out to really maximise points on field with that play. If they can also be playing the round 15, it'll obviously definitely help you as well. And then Matt Roberts, he's just there as a bit of a loophole option at the moment. So. We'll just hold him as long as we can, and use him as that loophole option. So in terms of what we're looking to do heading into this week, so it worked out well. I was doing a few sums coming out of the Dream Time of the G game, and you would have heard last week I kind of motioned towards me looking at bringing Gawn into my team. Gordon didn't score overly well. I mean, granted, the conditions weren't suited for ruckman. Against Port, it was pissing down with rain. But you just look at the one thing I didn't like he's been averaging, 5, 6 marks a game. He didn't have a mark at all. Did well on the ruck, but again, didn't correlate to scoring. So I think a whole heap of those weren't hit out to advantage, unfortunately, which put a cap on his scoring. And I don't know, I think since he's been back in the side, even though he's still sharing the ruck and he's obviously spending more time up forward, it has put that cap on his ceiling. That's pretty much an out-of-the-box game against the Suns. Kicked a couple of nice goals, but I am comparing it up with another player, and that player is pretty obvious. Coming out of the Dream Time of the G game, it was Zachary Merrett, and he now is in a very fortunate position, as we spoke about in the podcast as well. So Merrett doesn't have Parrish anymore, doesn't have Setters because they're both injured, obviously. Shield was a late out on the weekend also. So in terms of his opportunity for increased CBAs, they're elevated. I'll just delve into Merrett's little profile here. I'll run through it. The other thing that's going for him, obviously, is this weekend faces West Coast, and then the week after North Melbourne. West Coast give away, I think it's the third most points. Let me just have a quick look at this on DFS Australia. I think it's the third most points to opposition mids. Where are we? Actually, sorry. They give away the most points. Most? Yeah, most points to opposition midfielders. So that is obviously a bloody crazy matchup. And then against North Melbourne, who he scored well against in recent times as well. So it all sort of, as we tweeted, as you might have seen us tweet before the Dream Time of the G game, about Merrett being like a standout captaincy option. So hopefully those of you who do own Merrett saw that and were able to put the captaincy on him, because like we said with that tweet, everything's coming up Millhouse for him. He's got the opportunity to increase CBAs. His fixtures really opening up with some soft opponents. But even better, longer term, is the fact that, again, he faces back-to-back games as well, West Coast and North Melbourne later in the season. So in terms of him being an overall, I guess, primo or keeper in this sense, he is someone that you need in your side. And I think now is the perfect time to try and get him in, because with that 162 in his price cycle for the next couple of weeks as well, as you can see there, his break-even is going to stay pretty low. And if he goes bananas against West Coast and North, as you can see there, he could make another, 30, 40, 50, upwards of 50K, depending on what he scores over the next couple of weeks, combined with that 162. So he could absolutely go bananas and actually go past the 650K mark. So at the moment, with his current price, I mean, last week was a good week to get him, and good work if you did. But if you don't own him, I would be moving almost heaven and earth to try and get him in. Above all, any other keeper or primo across the lines. But we'll delve into him in a little bit more detail in the podcast proper for this week, so be sure to tune in for that. But all that to say, Merrett is obviously the one that I'm trying to get into my team. So I did some sums coming out of the Dream Time of the G game, and I was thinking, okay, well, Sam Simpson's going to be going up a certain amount, hopefully enough that I can trade him and then use Samson Ryan, who obviously has lost his role as a number one ruck at Richmond, and use him as a stepping stone to Merrett. And as it worked out, which as you can see here, I'll just roll through quickly. And then Ryan. And so what I'm thinking of doing here is Walsh is pretty much being guaranteed DPP mid-forward eligibility, because I think heading into the weekend he was at 40%, the 40% quota of time played forward, and you need a 35% benchmark in order to be eligible for that DPP activation. So at this stage, it looks like he's going to get that forward eligibility. And my plan now will be switching Walsh into the forward line in place of where Ryan is at the moment, and then upgrading Ryan to Merrett. And that will obviously take a rookie off field and mean that I have to play 2 rookies on field and have 20 keepers or primos in my side. So as it works out here, I obviously need to trade Simpson down to a rookie. Trading him down to someone like a Sheasel isn't going to generate enough cash. I need to generate, I've already got 100k in the bank. And the big standout this week, even though he's not on the bubble yet, is, I'll find it here. Sorry, let me switch this. And it is in the form, let me just go cash cows, of this guy here, Lachlan McAndrew, who some people started as their, I guess, loophole ruckman. Ladhams went down with what they're calling a severe ankle injury, and Horse Longby in his presser mentioned how important McAndrew could be to the team going forward. So they've already got McLean, who was sort of the semi-backup ruck. McAndrew played on the weekend, showed a bit of what he's capable of. Only played, obviously, the first game of the season. But with that endorsement from Horse and the fact that McAndrew could be playing almost a equal first choice ruck alongside McLean, means that his job security first and foremost is going to be pretty sound in the short to medium term. And we wait to hear how long Ladhams is out. So it could be longer than that. Break even at the moment off the back of one game is a -5. Ended up scoring a 53 and had 20 hitouts, 5 tackles as well, which is good to see. As a ruckman, it's a bit of a bonus. So if he scores another 50 odd or thereabouts, like his break even will be again in the negatives, -20 thereabouts, even more. And as that ruck forward, he fits the same role as what Samson Ryan was offering me also, in terms of coverage. So I can swing him with Nick Madden if need be to cover one of these guys if they're out for a week or two. So it helps me longer term, and also the fact that McAndrew is playing the round 15 game, which at this stage is as I've mentioned, the worst buy for me, and it would allow me to virtually be in a position where I've got 18 players potentially already in planning for that week, which is good because it means that I don't have to sort of scrounge to try and find players to cover for that week. So let's just press trade on that, bring him in, and then it gives me 589.2k, and I'll roll through as well. Oops, let me get that. We'll go stats. In terms of what it affords me, so obviously it just gives me enough, thankfully, thank the SuperCoach gods, that it affords me enough cash to afford Merrett. And if we have a look at average overall, Merrett's actually down here. Is the 14th highest averaging mid at the moment, but it's mid/forward, so it is, if we discount the mid forwards and defensive mids, so we'll take out 1, 2, 3, 4, take out 4, so he's the 10th highest averaging midfielder. And I think, as I said, with his fixture opening up with some soft draws, I think that's going to really elevate him. His scoring ceiling, so the height of his scoring, but also the scoring floor, so the minimum that he's able to score. I think it'll be very similar to like what we see with Tom Stewart, hopefully, fingers crossed, and he will elevate himself easily into the top 8 scoring midfield keepers. And as we saw, like Liam and I have gone on about it ad nauseum about, I think it's the past 3 seasons coming out of the bye period, Merrett has just taken his game to the next level and gone absolutely bananas. So now, again, is the time to get on him, because chances are that could happen again. Aside from Merrett, I could potentially afford to bring in Lockie Neal, who kind of has hit his straps. Again, I don't like McRae, even though he scored well, just because he is camping more time up forward. He's getting less CBAs. Yeah, so it'd probably be between Neil and Merrett, but as I said, Merrett is the more favourable of the two. Neil I could potentially try and bring in across the buys, but we'll wait and see with regards to that. Other than that, I could probably swing some guys like Wilmot into the midfield. So if I was to do that, I could eventually afford James Sicily, who I want to target as well to sort of round out that D6 spot. But as I just said countless times, that Merrett is the one that everyone should be trying to target this week if you haven't got him. So let's switch back Wilmot, and we will bring in the Zachary Merrett. Leaves me with only 7.1k in cash in the bank, but again, I think after this week I'll be sitting pretty with my legs up on the desk, hands behind my head, and just letting my team do its thing. I've only got let me just pull some swings here. So we'll just adjust the side to how it could look. So one rookie goes off. I'll do that for that. And then, so I'll have to probably try and loop there somewhere. But yeah, that's virtually how it looks at the moment. The obvious one here is Clary Oliver. I know news has come out about him, early days, of course, having a bit of a hamstring strain. And those people tuning in that own him, which will be quite a few of you, no doubt, I want you to temper your worries, because I know there was an article that's put out there by John Ralph, who, to put it bluntly, is one of the least reliable journos out there, I think. Tried to go early, and literally he just posted on Twitter saying that he could be out for 4 weeks, and then happened to say in the exact same sentence, Melbourne are still yet to assess the full extent of the damage or whatever, how his hamstring looks in relation to if he should spend any time on the sidelines. So for him to say that and then say he could spend up to 4 weeks, it's like, mate, you're obviously guessing. But then more so to the point which kind of offsets that is the fact that Clary played out the rest of the Port game. He clutched his hammy, I think it was late in the third potentially, or early fourth, and he ended up playing in the game. So if it was that bad, the medicos at Melbourne would have put him on ice. They would have iced him up literally, and looked ahead for next week. You're not going to drive your Ferrari through the mud, figuratively. You know what I mean? It was literally mud out there, but this is pick and trough action. Clary loves it. And in those conditions, the chances of you potentially aggravating the injury further are heightened. It was cold and rainy, not conducive to, if you've got a muscle strain, it's not good. So, it's one of those things that I think, classic case of a journo guessing, in order to try and break news and be first. I think considering that he played out the game, it means there's a minor strain at most, and may spend maybe a week on the sidelines if they want to try and be conservative. I've no doubt they're going to come out during the week and say, look, and people will be probably watching this video in retrospect, and more news will have come out since this video has been posted, but I'm going to guess and say that Melbourne are going to see if you can get through training. If you can get through full training, they'll either confirm him to be fit or not and give him a week off. So I think it's, a lot of people out there are doomsdaying off the back of what this, again, to put it bluntly, this idiotic journo has said, who is virtually just guessing. So wait and see for news to come out about Clary a bit more. And I don't know if you've seen, we'll mention it in the podcast, but there's a photo that someone took of Clary at the pokey somewhere. It looks like a local RSL. And he's got a compression bandage on his hammy, and he's literally sitting on his leg, cross-legged. His legs not even elevated. He's just sitting there in his sandals, just pushing away at the pokies. $5 spins as well, mind you, big spender. But doesn't look worried at all. Compression bandage on a hammy. Yeah, you'd have your leg elevated, all that sort of stuff. You'd be off your legs. If the hamstring was bad, you'd be on crutches, all that sort of stuff. I think it's just, to me, again, a minor strain and nothing to worry about. So fingers crossed, of course, that it stays at that, and they don't come out and say that he's going to spend a whole heap of time in the midfield. I'm sorry, on the sideline. So we want to see him back in the midfield. We want to see the snout in trough action. I know a lot of you out there would have just traded him in, which is unfortunate. But if he is out for like a week or two, we're just going to have to grin and bear it. Potentially leverage off our our DPPs like Wilmot, swing him into the midfield to cover Clary potentially. I've got Weddle. So on and so forth. Like I've got a few swings that I can make potentially to help out. So hopefully those of you out there that own Clary, if we are in that position, can do likewise. In terms of, before I wrap up this video, in terms of the VC and Cs, it's a bit of an interesting one, because if Clary is out and Clary plays the third game of the round, so he would have probably been a half decent option, no doubt. Bont plays middle of the round against Gold Coast. I think he averages the most against Gold Coast from memory. So a squeeze. Oh no, he's up there, but maybe it was recent form. 133, 93, and 130. So he's a definite captaincy option or VC option if you wanted to use that avenue early on. So I think for me, he would probably be the VC option. If Clary plays, I don't feel safe in him having the VC, just because I reckon they might try and manage him in game, maybe have him play more time up forward, all that sort of stuff, just to try and make sure that he gets through the game. But who knows? Rowan Marshall, his projected is 148. Who's he facing? Oh, Hawthorn though. Hawthorn are the more restrictive team against opposition ruckman, so I wouldn't be penciling in this game as one that he goes bananas in. Having said that, he actually scored a 173 late last year, around 20, and with Ned Reeves being out of the side potentially, and Meek being the sole ruckman, it might level things out. So maybe that puts him in calculations for a VC in good form, obviously as well. Wouldn't trust Sean Darcy. Rory Laird, he plays in the last game of the round. So maybe it's a case of Bont into Laird. Goulden plays against my mob, so he could actually terrace up Goulden. So you could maybe use him as a VC option. But Laird averages a 104.9, had 86, 129, and 142. So yeah, he might be one to have a look at. Just have a bit of a look, bit of a squeeze. I'll probably roll with that for the time being, I think. But yeah, of course, tune into our weekly podcast being released over the next Tuesday night, Wednesday morning this week. We will be releasing it, and of course, there's a segment which is "I am the captain now," which is where we delve through the best VC and C options. So look out for that. But sort of early calculations, that is probably what I'll be looking to do. Actually, Merrett. Sorry, what am I doing? I've just completely forgotten about Merrett. Stupid of me. Merrett is obviously a captaincy option. Goes without saying. West Coast, they bleed the most points to mids. He scored a 125, 119, and 111. So that might even be the go. If I go for Merrett, I could potentially go like Merrett VC into Laird C or Bont. I think I'll back in the Zibont. I'll go Bont VC. I think we'll go Merrett. Back him in. First game in my side. But yeah, that's probably where I am going to go. But yeah, as I said, tune into our weekly episode being released on probably more likely Wednesday morning, where we delve into a bit more detail about VC and C options for those players outside of my team and Liam's team, for those of you out there that have other players in your teams. Actually, before I sign off, I'll give you a quick insight into how my team is looking heading into the buys. We'll be doing this over the next week as well, for next week, heading into the first buy. So this is round 12 where things sit. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Depends on Chincotta as well, if he plays or not. I will be looking to potentially upgrade him over the next week or two. So not too worried about that. Round 13, I mean, everyone can have coverage there because Geelong and Gold Coast only have the bye in that week. Round 14, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Again, I'm counting these guys as if they're going to play, but we'll see how we go. Fingers crossed. And this is how it looks at round 15. So the inclusion of Merrett and McAndrew have given me 2 options for that round 15 bye, which I'm struggling or was struggling with. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So it gives me just 18 at the moment, which is good. It kind of has taken the worry out of it that I was having about all the daunting round 15 bye that was coming up. So it's evened things out now across the board, which is good, and leaves me in a very, very good mindset, knowing that I can have a bit of coverage there, give or take. But yes, let's end it there. So this is my edition of Damo's Team Talk, coming out of round 10 and heading into round 11. If you've got any questions, as always, feel free to list them below in the comment section. Always happy to help clarify anything with regards to my own team strategies and whatnot, but also your own teams and issues, and not issues, but I mean, everyone has issues, but any questions you may have, conundrums is probably the word to use for your team. So feel free to list them below. And like I've been saying, if you like the content we've been putting out, our weekly episodes, our Damo's Team Talk, obviously live streams and whatnot, if you can just repay us with just a sub, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, hit the sub button, and help us on our journey to the 1K subscriber mark, and hoping to get there before the season ends. So if you can help us out with that, we would very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys and girls, I'll catch you alongside Liam in our usual weekly episode, dropping in the next day or two. So we'll see you then. And as always, until then, we'll see you same time, same place. We'll see you then. Catch you later.